Right. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of the People of Interest podcast. I've got a very, very special guest with me today. This guest goes by a number of titles: husband, brother, son, father. Recently, or more times in the last 2 years, moved into coach.
Yeah.
2 years moved into coach.
I like the titles part.
Yeah. That's right.
Cool.
So yeah, but I think a lot of us will know him better as a British Olympian, great British athlete, and it's Dwain Chambers. So Dwain, welcome. Thank you for coming on today. How are you doing?
I'm well. Yourself?
Good. Yeah, not too bad, sir. Not too bad.
Like you're rocking the red like me.
Yeah. Well, we didn't plan this, by the way. People see us on YouTube. They're like,
I didn't read the memo.
Yeah, brilliant. No, Dwain, thank you for coming on today. I think today's chat and the reason why I reached out to you, and we've spoken about it before the cameras have started rolling as well, is your story. I think is reflective of everyone in life, particularly pre-2006, and after that, I think a lot of people can actually sympathise and see a time in their life where maybe opportunity is the wrong word, isn't it? But a situation arose. And there was a yes or no, and we might have picked the wrong one. But as I said to you before the camera started rolling as well, someone such as myself who can make that mistake can go home, shut the door, leave it a couple hours, and it'll be all right.
Yeah.
Whereas for yourself, obviously, that wasn't the case. And I think, again, you had an amazing chat on the Talkback London podcast pre-2006. So your journey from junior athlete through to senior, and then what happened in Miami. And I guess for me today, as it's a very special year this year, actually, as well, 10-year anniversary of 2012.
Jesus, it's been time's flown.
Yeah, it's been so I think I wanted to chat to you today to have that chat, or the next chapter of from 2006 onwards. So, where would be a good place to begin on that? Because I know the point that I wanted to kind of maybe start from was when you had a chat about finding that legal counsel who did the absolute business for you.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, should we start 2006 competing? Yeah.
Sure.
How was it?
So obviously, coming back from a break from sport, I'm going to put it lightly, I start to look at what's going to start happening next for me, because I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. The one thing that was clear to me was that I wanted to still be involved in sport, and I wanted to run.
Yeah.
Because although a decision had been made on my end and a mistake had been the result, I felt that there was still a lot more that I had to do. And in order to achieve that, I felt obligated to fix it. What needed to be fixed, I didn't know yet, because I was still in the whirlwind of the storm. There were a lot of bridges that had been burnt, and I had a lot of making up and fixing to deal with. But running was still my priority. Besides that, I'd just recently become a father. So me and my wife we had our first son, Sky. So as a family, we worked closely together. And it was an opportunity for me to start really focusing on what I want and who Dwain was. So coming from a younger childhood and then becoming an Olympian and high-profile individual, an athlete, I didn't know who I was. I was just who the press said I was.
Yeah.
I was just who my sponsor said I was. I was a representative of my sponsor at the time. I was an Olympic athlete. I was a representative of sport, but I didn't know myself. So coming out of sport and coming back down to earth, so to speak, and seeing how both hard and how wonderful life can be, and the responsibilities of being a partner, a husband, and a parent really hit home, because all I had to do was think about myself. And that's not a selfish act, that's just the nature of when you're in sport, the only person you have to consider is yourself. Because ultimately, when you're out there performing, you're being judged on your current and past achievements. So having to consider other people was difficult for me. I didn't know how to do that.
Yeah. I'm glad you touched on that, actually, because it was a question I was going to ask you today, and I was worrying where I'd fit it in, but you've hit it on already, so I'll ask now. When you are an athlete, and I guess obviously, just speaking for yourself, not putting it on everyone else, but that extra all of a sudden that responsibility that you have as like someone that people have to like look after, or you've got to make sure that you're doing right to then, you know, be that positive individual for someone else. What that to me, just from a personal perspective, if that responsibility was laid on me, I wouldn't be very happy with it, because as you say, you know, this is a sport that you've trained your backside off for. You want to compete, get the best out of, and you want those gold medals, you want those championships. But then you've also got to kind of make sure that your image is all right for other people. It just doesn't seem right. How is that fair? And as an athlete, what is that a thing in your mind during those kind of training sessions when you were back as being someone that is responsible for the image of things, or is it just for you?
It is, at the time, I would imagine things are better organised now. In terms of how athletes are introduced to their roles and responsibilities, and the reputation they have to uphold, not only for themselves, but for their country and the brands that they represent. Whereas at the time, I can only account for myself. I may have not been open to it because I was just so self-driven, and I just wanted to concentrate on me. But as my status in the world rankings became greater, the responsibilities became greater. And just like the saying in Spider-Man, with great responsibility, how's the saying go?
Great power. With
great crowd yields great responsibility. I had all the power, but I didn't want the responsibility of it. I didn't want it. I didn't know how to handle it. So with that demands of making sure I was turning up to press events, making sure I was saying the right thing in the media. So media training was something that was quite prevalent in our preparations. Always turning up in responsible kit. Being a gentleman off the field as well as on the field of play. So those things were taught to us. But again, I wasn't that receptive to it because I just thought, I don't want all of this. But a message that I tell people now is, as you become more responsible, as you become more popular, you are required to conduct yourself in a particular way. So that is a message I want to put out to young sportsmen and women now. So when you are put in that position, you are put in that position because they see sponsors and members of the public see you as a role model. They look up to you. They've seen that you've applied a lot of hard work and determination, sacrifice, and you are a good representative for what they may want for their child to be. So as I think about it now, I realize the position I was in, I just wasn't open to it then. So when I have some of the youngsters that I coach now at my academy, I talk to them more on how they are going to conduct themselves mentally rather than the physical. Because sports is easy to do it from a physical standpoint. We turn up, we train, we listen to the instructions of our coach, we go and run. But how do we manage ourselves when things are put on our plate that weren't part of our order?
Let's take that part, that end bit that you said there, things put on our plate. 2006, because I know when you were on the Talkback London podcast, please everyone do have a listen to that and watch as well. It is on YouTube, I believe it is on Spotify and streaming platforms. Do have a look at that, because that will be a great thing to watch before listening and watching this today. But so 2006, what I did want to kind of ask you, because you mentioned it on the Talkback episode as well, was that so when you prior to the suspension, when you came back from Miami and came here to compete, obviously you mentioned there was that kind of atmosphere of competitors and stuff when you come back. Moving into 2006, when your suspension was lifted, you were able to compete again. How was that audience and address when you came back? Was it similar or?
Naturally, it was hostile purely because of my actions. And I hadn't taken the process of coming back into sport in the right way. The wounds of what had happened was still raw. They'd been covered with a plaster but not mended. Covered in the plaster, that's the fact that my suspension was over and I was reintroduced back into sport. But not mended in the sense that the stitches weren't put in. Stitches in the sense that I hadn't really opened up and addressed the situation. So with that, there was a number of bridges that had to be built. It wasn't just going to be a case of me coming back and running fast. I did that anyway, but like I said, there were just still some underlying issues that needed to be addressed. Things that now have been addressed behind the scenes. And I feel, again, when it comes to dealing with situations in life, deal with it in-house rather than airing the laundry out in the public.
Yeah.
But then it enables people to have their own opinion. And then situations become diluted, and any repair that was trying to be amended is going to be influenced by what the media put out.
Yeah.
So we dealt with a lot of stuff behind the scenes, which was important. So every party knew where they stood. And with that, then I was able to come back. However, it was difficult to mend my relationship with the athletes.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of distrust from my end.
Yeah.
Not me towards them, but them towards me, for obvious reasons. So when I sit back on it now, however many moons ago it has been, I think to myself, how would I be if I was in the same position? Now, the Dwain of 2006 is a different individual from the Dwain now, being a father of three, a husband, and responsible for almost 100 kids in my academy. So my actions would be different. But would my actions be the same if I hadn't gone through what I'd gone through? Would I be this person if I hadn't gone through what I'd gone through? I say to my kids, if I hadn't gone through what I've gone through, I would have never met your mum. I would have never met mum and you guys wouldn't even be alive. So what I'd gone through, as harsh as it was necessary.
Yeah.
Hard on my career, hard on the sport, which I hurt, but necessary. Because I feel in life there are people that have to fall in order to give other people a lifeline and an example of what can happen in life and how you get through it. I didn't have those role models or icons or people to guide. There was nobody that I could really sit down and talk to and say, how do you deal with disappointment? That this wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I've found it useful to come back down to earth and stay on planet Earth. And what I mean by that, stay on the ground level where I'm tangible to people. So I can talk.
Yeah.
Because all the idols that I looked up to were too far up in the clouds. You just couldn't get close to them.
Yeah.
They were protected for obvious reasons, because you can't be that open to the public because you leave yourself liable to getting hurt, injured, all number of things. But I chose to stay down so I can talk to youngsters who may be going through similar situations. It doesn't necessarily have to be in sport, but outside of sport. I talk to them, and although it was costly to my career, it can save a life. It can save the image of the sport, so we can move out of an image of where it's just constantly surrounded by doping, which is unfair. And we can build characters. We can build a positive image. We can have athletics looking in a positive light and go from being at the bottom of the hierarchy to a sport that's shown for all its beauty and passion.
Yeah, and I think, as you were saying there, just with, that, because there is a mist of the doping side of things, I think, next to what we're probably, I would say we're second to cycling, really, in that, having that culture there. Because again, it's not unheard of and it's not a big secret that when you're top end as a GB athlete, people that don't know maybe is that financially, yourself or maybe athletes these days as well within athletics, they're not looking at a salary as footballers are, things like that. I know obviously you discussed in principle as well with that, your reasons for choosing to say yes when maybe you should have said no were for the fact of just wanting to be a winner, to continue the success you were having, that you were from a junior and things like that, which is obviously, as you said, it wasn't the right thing to do, but you can still sympathise and understand what that decision was because do you think, or this is again a question yourself, is if there was a financial kind of stability or that support that maybe footballers have, would it reduce? And within our sport, do you think, just from a kind of safety perspective, because again, just not being massively privy to the financials of GB athletes and things like that, but as I say, it's not a secret that unless you're really slapping the times, you're not supported, or not, that's the wrong word. Financially, there's not a lot there versus a footballer. If that changed, do you reckon that would reduce at all? Would the risk of someone saying yes reduce?
Possibly, but it also leads to people wanting more. If there's a financial gain attached to it, people want more. Yeah, we are driven by more.
Yeah, but if their support of their livelihood is a bit more secure, that is where I'm asking a one-sided question. If the livelihood was covered, if they felt more secure livelihood-wise, do you think?
I think in order to deter people from saying yes like I did.
Yeah.
Better education, coaching education, making athletes aware of what to look for. The people who come out of the woodwork offering this.
Yeah.
The sponsors that may come out of the woodwork offering this.
Yeah.
You know, these things come from all corners of life.
Yeah.
If athletes do not have the support system in place to encourage a better mindset, then people are going to be left open.
Yeah.
Because if athletes don't feel that they're accountable to anyone, then they'll be like, okay, I'm going to do it. Everyone else is doing it, so they believe, then they're going to do it. I believed everyone else was doing it, hence my actions. Now, when athletes ask me, what do you do now? I talk to them. Whereas when I went to ask for help during my time, there was no one to talk to. There probably was, but I wasn't open to it. So you can give athletes better financial backing. That may make them a little bit more secure, but it still leaves that window open for someone to say, okay, come and do this.
Yeah.
Then we're back to square one.
Yeah.
So in order to eradicate that or reduce that, definitely athlete education as well as coach education.
Yeah. Okay.
I agree.
Yeah, 100. Okay, amazing. 2000 and let's go to 2008. 2007, blank year on your Power 10. Injury or just
I think 2007 I went to either play American football.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I went to play NFL Europe.
Yeah. How was that?
Oh, it was awesome. Oh, man. I was with the Hamburg Sea Devils in NFL Europe.
Yeah.
And what an amazing experience that was.
Yeah. Talk to me about what kind of got you out there? How did you?
So I think after the 2006 season, I was just like, just wasn't mentally in the right place to continue. So I just thought, okay, let me take another siesta and look at other options. And I don't know how it came about, but I got in touch with a coach called Tony Allen. We both found each other some way, shape or form. And I'd done a trial in Crystal Palace for the NFL Europe team. And then I just think just on pure speed alone, don't get me wrong, I could not catch, but for some reason on that day, I could catch a ball. They just kept me chucking me up the wing. And what to do is run and catch, and that was it, I was in.
Yeah.
However, once I got out there and had to understand plays and offense and defense, coverages, I was like, nah. Now, you're talking to someone who's not come from an highly educated background. I'm not saying this is the case for all sports people. I just wasn't. I was just inherently an engineer to run.
Yeah.
My only downfalls was just not confident in terms of how to deal with people, but confident on the field. You put me in front of that starting blocks, that was it. Something switched on. But to go to another sport and learn something completely new against individuals who had been doing it from yay high, I struggled. But I stuck at it. Being a sports person, you whatever challenge is in front of you, you commit. And I just remember getting up with the team. And again, I'm not used to being part of a team. Sprinters, athletes, we're very individual. We get up, we think about ourselves, we eat for ourselves, we prepare for ourselves, everything's about what we've got to do.
Yeah.
Which I now think if I can encourage sports people, especially in track and field, to work as a team effort, then the chance of you doing that much better, that much stronger. Because when it doesn't go well, the onus, we feel internally that it's all our fault. We take it hard on ourselves. Or even sometimes we choose not to be responsible and blame it on the coach. Unfortunately, and this is the message to all sprinters and athletes out there, we all have a responsibility to be accountable for our actions. So if you're doing something in training and you're not happy with it, talk to the coach. Because when coach says X and you're not gelling with it, but you go along with it and things don't work the way you want them to, then who gets blamed? Coach, and then athletes leave. I encourage coaches to always liaise with the athlete, talk them through it, why we are doing this drill, why we are doing this exercise, why we are taking this path, why you got to go to bed early, why you got to eat, why you got to, you name it. So the athlete is accountable. So they're accountable for each step, each action, each decision that is made. So when things don't go right, you can look at all the breadcrumbs of where it went wrong. When it does go well, these are the reasons why it went well. So I took that single individual mindset into NFL, and all the players were like, what's wrong with this dude? Why is he not gelling with us? And I didn't know how to gel as a team, because I'd never opened myself up to work as a team. So once I got my head around it, I started to work a bit better with them, listen to them, understand them, and become an actual NFL player. Now, we went on to win what was the equivalent of the Super Bowl. We won the World Bowl, I believe it might have called. Don't quote me. But I've got my ring at home as well. So the buzz, the atmosphere, being a part of a team. When one player gets hit, the whole team gets hit. When one player goes down, the whole team comes around and supports. So at the end of that season, I stopped and then went back to track, and I took the team mentality home with me. And I started to open up and see how much better it is to work with people than against. So I looked at having a better relationship with my physiotherapist, my nutritionist, my wife, my kids, people around me, and opening up and trying to learn to be a better person rather than just trying to do this on my own. So that experience in itself was awesome. And it then brought me back with a new fire, a better understanding of myself for the 2008 season.
Yeah, which is perfect. So I wanted to go on to that. 2008, I've written down the accolades of outdoors. I know obviously indoors there, but outdoors is obviously what we gear up to every year to kind of get onto. So we're at British Champs, and you've gone gold. How was that? Because that's a return, but it's a return with a statement as well, like to not be ignored. And I know, obviously, as you said, decisions were made by yourself, which was a mistake, but there is still no denying what it is you can do, as you said, when you're putting them blocks. So 2008 season and going gold, how was that coming back that first year?
So off the 2006, 2007 season, I'd learnt a lot. Just being exposed to life. So I took that into 2008, and although the whole season was a very intense one leading up to the 2008 Olympics, at this time I was still ineligible to compete. So I just went into the mentality of how am I going to handle the media, be myself, see my family, the people that I've occasionally coached on a one-to-one basis. So I was coming back with a catalogue of chapters in my life that I'd never had before. So my mindset changed. So I didn't go in there to win. I never go into races to win. As weird as
Explain
it sounds,
that. Explain that.
I do
What?
not go into races to win. I'm competing against here.
Okay.
It's the weirdest thing, but I do not go into races thinking I'm going to win today, because 9 out of 10 times you don't.
It's really odd you say that as well, because seeing you on a telly, looking down that race line. I mean, I would say you're notorious for it. I don't know anyone in the history of athletics that I've watched and now that looks down that track, and it's almost as if that's goal orientation. He wants to win. But hearing you say, "Nah, it's me." Yeah,
it's me looking down that track.
Yeah,
and not allowing anybody's energy to come into my zone. So I'm protecting that zone. So the focus that I have, you see me staring down that track, it's not I'm getting there from A to B as fast as possible. It's not that. I'm deflecting distractions.
Okay.
So I'm challenging myself up here. So when I'm in the zone like that and you see me like that, it's not that when that gun goes bang, I'm going to destroy them. I'm challenging myself to not lose it and not allow thoughts to come in and distract me. Because that's been me of the past. I would allow myself to talk myself out of the race. So now I have a mindset of where I do not talk to myself on the start line. I do not talk to myself. I do not have a conversation in here. Because the moment I allow, Dwain, the pressure's on, it's crunch time, you've got to go. The moment I conversate with that voice, I am done. So I choose not to conversate. So if I hear a drifting thought coming, I let it go out. I don't sit and have coffee with it.
So what is it? Is it a point that you pick at the end of the track? Because it's almost when we've got less stimuli to focus on, brain just naturally goes internally anyway.
Correct.
To you as a person.
Correct.
So what are you? Is it a point that you focus on, or how do you stop that bit where it says, Dwain, there's a bit of pressure?
I'll hear the convo.
Yeah.
I just won't be like, wait.
Yeah.
I'll just blank it.
Just let it. Okay.
I blank it.
Yeah.
I literally have to blank it.
Yeah.
And that voice becomes even more intense the closer you get to the start line. Most athletes would know is that your adrenaline spikes, so your heart starts beating, You want to go toilet, your hamstrings start to hurt, everything starts to twitch. Then the moment you say, oh, my hamstring's hurting, then the hamstring sense is going to be elevated. You're going to be like, oh, my hamstring's going to pull, and then you're going to be hesitant.
Yeah.
Then you're no longer going to be reacting to the B of the bang, you're going to be reacting to the echo of the bang. Then your race is done. Then you're automatically chasing. And if you notice, there are 9 people on that start line or more, or less. And they're all reacting the same way. You just have to have less junk in your mind than they do. If somebody's in that race with a full brim of worries and concern, they're going to spill over, and then you'll see the outcome of their performance. I choose to secrete that by not thinking and getting rid of it and letting it go somewhere else. And somebody who's have wandering thoughts is going to pick up my negative thoughts, and they're going to hold on to it, and then their race is over. So I tend to win most of my races by sheer intimidation.
I'd agree with you on that one for sure. Yeah, as I say, looking at you through the screen, it's intimidating, but yeah,
because they can't pick up what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
so they're like, "What is Dwain doing? What's he thinking?" And the moment they're thinking about me, I'm like, I'm absorbing that.
Yeah.
Whereas where I'm absorbing energy and getting rid of mine, they're picking up all those wandering negative thoughts that I've got. And it is psychological warfare as much as you want to believe it. I don't go to win. I'm just challenging my mind not to get distracted. And because I've got less in my mind, I'm able to run a lot freer than most of them.
Okay.
And that's how I win.
Yeah.
And I carry that in life now.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm, like me of the past doing podcasts like this and talks, I'll be projecting, venom.
Yeah.
I'll be projecting venom. And as a result, there'll be bad stuff in the press. I'll lose opportunities to compete. I'll create low self-esteem. My mental health will drop. Because I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Why am I not getting opportunities? But then when I look at the breadcrumbs of crap that I've been putting out there, and even not even the birds want to pick it up, then something's wrong. Because if I'm putting stuff out there that aren't being picked up by supporters, then I'm doing something wrong. If I'm putting out breadcrumbs that are being picked up by people who like what I'm saying I'm doing, then you know you're doing something right. So I knew I weren't setting out the right message. So I had to change what I want to do. I was expecting other people to change, but one thing I've realized in life, if you want things to change first, you have to change. If people are set in their ways, they're not going to change. But they will change if they see a change in you. So I had to change. So when 2008 came along, I realized I had to change in order for things to change. So you notice as time went along, I got rid of the gold tooth. I toned down. I took responsibility for my actions. I no longer started pointing at people. Because one thing I've noticed in life, when that one thing you're pointing at people, there's 3 other fingers pointing back at you. Yeah. So when I was told that, I thought, damn.
Yeah. How, winning the British champs, there must have been, was there just a sense of that you have to be patient after you've done, because you know that usually 9 times out of 10 is eligible, as long as you've got the qualifying time, eligibility, you're on the plane, you're off. You've done it, but then obviously, you know, you're still not eligible.
Still not eligible.
How do you, when you go home from that day, obviously, you know, adrenaline's dropped off. How was that?
The adrenaline dropped off, was massive. There was a lot of tears and frustration and crying.
Yeah.
Me and my wife cried for hours. But one thing I had to realize, when I got suspended, I said, I'm going to fix this and I will be back. I just didn't know it was going to take as long as it did. I didn't know how I was going to fix it. But I forgot that was my mission. I just didn't foresee all the little obstacles or chapters within that end goal. So even though I'd done well in NFL and I came back and I won this and I was still ineligible, I still had to keep on going. Because as far as I'm concerned, I'd seen myself get back. So the fact that I'd seen it told me I can do it. I just didn't realize the darkness between seeing it to achieving it was freaking like that. And I was moving at the snail of a pace, even though every episode or challenge lasted 10 seconds. But those 10 seconds was taking out inches, millimeters in my depth of how far I had to climb. But it was too unnerving for me to not try. I had to try. And I'm not afraid to try, because every time you step on the line, you're trying. And I'm not one to chicken out. I don't chicken out of nothing. You know, so I'm gonna, and purely this is what I know I'm geared to do and engineered to do. So I do it, and even though it hurt, I'm used to pain and disappointment just purely because of my childhood. So I don't win, I get up, I go on the next day. I don't win, I get up, I go the next day. I don't win, I go up, I go the next day. Rather, I don't win, or I'm going to stop. And never try again.
There's something quite perverse in that, isn't there, as you mentioned childhood, because, again, like you know, for myself, I grew up with just me and my mum majority of the time until, obviously, I met my dad later on. And, again, fantastic relationship with him. Mum and dad have a great relationship together. But, as I say, it's just me and my mum didn't have a lot financially as well. And my mum has always said to me that she's, or at times when we've spoken about that kind of thing, that she's felt quite guilty. But in terms of what you said, for me, I look back on it now, and it's the best thing that could have done for me, because whatever can go to shit for me or does go wrong, I just water for ducks back.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of friends that I've got as well, who, you know, come from, you know, really nice backgrounds and, you know, have that middle class family and financial and stuff like that. Some of them, when they have similar situations that would maybe be negative for them, they don't deal with it very well.
No, they're not used to adversity. Everything's been given to them.
And it's so odd that, although from I guess again from like a media perspective and how, I guess, you know, inner London and things like that are portrayed, and us as kids growing up single fella chilling out on road and stuff like that are portrayed, actually it's the best thing that, as long as we apply it later in life and we use it later in life, it's the best thing, right? Because it's just that I guess, again, going back to that word patience that you had from being told, no, Dwain, sorry, 2008. Right, okay.
I'm used to it.
Yeah, drop it off. Tomorrow's another day kind of thing. And you crack on.
Just because I didn't get it today doesn't mean I'm not going to get it.
Yeah.
And I've just been used to that.
Yeah.
So I'll always ask, can I get this? No.
Yeah.
Why? Because. And I just stopped asking why. And I'll just continue pursuing on. If I didn't get it, I'd always maneuver. Now, on one hand, that kept me always driven. On another hand, it again showed that when things didn't go my way, I was impatient to see it through. And what I mean by that is I've had about.
Sorry, everybody. We're live at Lee Valley.
You good with this? All right. So on one hand, on the downside, it cost me because I wasn't open to constructive criticism. I've had almost 16 coaches. So when things didn't go wrong, I bail out. Didn't go wrong, I bailed out. Didn't go well, bailed out. Didn't go well, bailed out. When coach was trying to say, Dwain, let's do this, nah, it's not working, I'll bail out. So on one hand, I've got a catalogue of experiences of how to coach. Because I've literally, you name every coach out there, I've been with them.
Be around the block, yeah.
So I know. So I can pull archives from when I was down and out and I was depressed and tired, and how I got myself back up because that coach said one little thing I can remember. When my starts weren't going right, another coach said, do this. So when I come across athletes now, I can pull from all over the place. You know, I can be like Robert Downey Jr. I've got those visual effects.
Just everywhere,
something that works, and I can get the message across. So that was great, but I lacked consistency in editing. That goes from my relationship. My wife knows I was all over the place. I was a hot mess. I could just jump from people to people all over the place. Whereas now I've chosen to work this as a business. I consider myself a business. If I'm going to build this brand, if I'm going to build this person, learn to go through the problems and work through them. Talk about them, discuss them. Look at your breadcrumbs. Are your breadcrumbs on the floor not being picked up by people that are learning from them, or they're still there? So I talk through things now, and I do the same with my athletes. So that's made me a better person. And obviously the message I now put out to people helps them reflect on themselves. So again, with 08, it was hard. Again, a lot of emotions. And even though we didn't get the result, I got what I wanted, the win, but I didn't get what I want. I wanted to be put back in the team. I wanted to be accepted. That's ultimately what I wanted. I thought being accepted would be going out and winning. But no, all I'm doing is just adding more I'm overly seasoning my soup. I'm putting too much salt in it. It's bitter, and I didn't get it. But then,
what was contributing to that though? Because I get it from the perspective of, right, Dwain's coming back. He's gone and won the British champs. There's obviously going to be those mumblings of, well, X, Y, and Z. But what else? Was there anything else that was contributing to that over of seasoning within that? Because when I've looked back on,
it was just all me.
Yeah.
Not taking accountability, because although I thought winning was helping me back in, it wasn't. I was still adding too much salt to the soup in terms of what I was saying in the media. And the message I'm putting out to other people who may have been for or against me, but it's still landed on ears that I'm like, nah, he's not ready.
Okay.
He's not ready to be released back into society, so to speak.
Yeah.
And until I realised that I was the cause of the problem, then I sat back down and I thought, okay, this needs to be done in a different way.
Okay. Let's go into 2009 then. Silver, British champs. Berlin. Berlin. Getting that call, putting the vest back on. Where were you with that? What was that for you?
2009. I'm going to jump to the end of 2009 before we jump back to the beginning.
Okay.
So
because you're going to do that, can I just jump in? I've got a relic from it was the 27th of October. You were up there training. And you signed these for me.
No way.
Yeah.
Did I?
So I was here. I was at that end with the Hertfordshire development thing.
Nice.
And you were at that end. I was like, yeah, I'm getting him to sign these.
Signature's still the
yeah,
same.
yeah. And everyone was like,
cool.
You're not. I was like, I'm gonna do it. So yeah, I thought I'd bring them as well, just as a relic to.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Nice, wicked.
But yeah, no. So yeah, go on. Sorry, I jumped to them. But go on.
2009. Like I said, I'm gonna jump to the end before I go back to
yeah. Okay.
So in 2009, I got to the end of the season. Yes, I was in the historic world record race with Usain.
Yeah.
I was in lane 1. That was the maddest race I've ever been in.
How was the call room?
So I'm of a generation where I grew up with the Carl Lewises and the Linford Christies and the Maurice Greens and the Gatlids of the world who go into a call room and it's a full-on testosterone-driven environment. Nobody speaks to each other. It is dead silent. You can hear a pin drop in that room. And I tell you, the call room is no bigger than this. And everyone's facing each other, so you can't... Everyone's trying to hold their own steer. The moment you hold a steer and you look away, they know they've got you. So you either look away from the moment you get in there, or you stare at that person and you do not crack. And it was very intense. I've grown up in that hostile environment. So when it comes to the mental side of things, I do not crack. I don't fumble very easily. So a lot of these athletes, if I can use the analogy of a piece of paper, if I'm tearing this paper, a lot of them, you can look at them, they're able to go and they'll rip straight away.
Yeah.
My ripping tendency is like Teflon. I bend and I mold, but you can't rip me. I can't rip. Because I know whatever you're trying to do to me, I can do exactly the same back to you. And I will outstare you. I would out-intimidate you. I don't care who you are. Because as far as I'm concerned, when it's in the environment, the race is won or lost in the call room. And I'll carry that from the moment I freaking wake up all the way to the track, to the call room, and onto the race line. Now, when my energy and my fire was flaming high, I could do that all day. Now, it's just too exhausting. I could do that when I was young because I didn't give a damn. I'll stay in the zone all day.
Yeah. And is now 2009, is that what?
Yeah. I could stay in the zone all day. Now, 44, I'm like, nah, I can't keep that heat in me, man. I'll be full asleep by the time I get to the track.
Yeah.
So, yeah, going to that race, we got to the call room, and it was a different atmosphere because those guys laugh and joke, and they were talking to the officials, and I was like, damn, this is not how it used to be for me. Because remember, I'd been out for a while and come back to a new generation.
Yeah. Like time travel kind of thing in some respects, isn't it?
I'd come back to a new generation. There was a Southern came out, Bolt was 2 years after that, Just different kids, younger, more vibrant, technically better. Technique had taken a shift. Technical models had been more data. Surfaces have changed, spikes had changed, diet had changed. And I was somewhat prehistoric. I was just like a Sparta 300 type dude. I was just raw. I did it my way. I landed on this earth in a particular way. I'm going to go out the same way, but I wasn't open to change. I was a bit stubborn in my approach. Whereas these kids had been brought into the world of sport and molded in a particular way to be better on the camera, better off the camera, more acceptable in the public eye, and technically sound, so they could be a good example for youngsters to look at on how to improve. I was rugged and raw. Didn't care at the time. So when this new generation came out, I was like, Jesus, my technique ain't cutting it. So when I see this guy, Usain, came out in the first 20 meters, he was gone. It was just gone. How could somebody 6'5" run so fast?
Yeah.
Go and behold, I trained with him in 2006, so I knew him from then. But the 2006 Usain to the 2009, I was like,
different
what
animal,
the hell?
yeah.
How did they do that?
Yeah, because I didn't even realise he was at Athens. Honestly, I found that out really late.
Yeah.
I think it was after 2008 that I realised he was at Athens.
So they'd done amazing work with him, but it showed that by working as a team and taking the time and being open to change makes a difference, which I wasn't. And then, lo and behold, my guy went on and ran 9.58. By the time he crossed the line, I was still running. By the time I crossed the line, he was halfway around the bend. I was like, damn. And it really opened my mind to, you're good, but there are other people out there better. And that was a tough house to swallow. I know I'm not rubbish, I'm good, but there are other people that are just better.
Yeah.
And not better because of genetics, but better, they're more open to different methods of training. They look at what's been successful in the past and they adapt it. They mold it, they play around with the plasticine, so to speak, and they do things that would have been neglected from our ways of doing it, and they better it. And then, lo and behold, he was able to go on. So the end of that season, again, my fire was drawing low, and I was like, I can't do this no more. Financially, we were just struggling because I couldn't go and work. I didn't know how to go and work. In all honesty, I was too embarrassed to even go and ask for a job I couldn't do that. Now it's different. I've got responsibilities. It's a totally different kettle of fish for me. But at the time, so I've got to run. This is all I know. And even though the journey still felt far, I was getting closer to improving my image because the press was a little bit more easier on me. My image had changed, I had changed. And even though I was this much closer to just being free, it still felt like a long time because I was still getting my ass busted in terms of just not winning the races and not getting the opportunities that I felt at the time I deserved. So at the end of that season, I spoke to a close colleague of mine. I said, look, I don't want to do this no more. Because before you make that decision, go and see a friend of mine. Now, this friend of the colleague I know, I went to his house. Don't get me wrong, during this time, from when I came back to the end of 2009 season, I had a load of agents. Again, there's agents coming out the woodwork, said they can help me. And all they were doing is just shafting me, offering empty promises, and nothing was coming off of it. So I went and met this guy who was a barrister by trade. His name was Cesaraga. I said, look, I'll go and see him. I got to this guy's place, and he had a file on me. This is the table, and the file was that high. And the first thing he said to me, look, I know more about you than you know about yourself, and you're doing this all wrong. Now, if you listen to me, I can help you. And I said, why should I listen to you? He goes, look, this ain't about the money. This ain't about the notoriety of you, me working with you. It's not about that. I am a sports person, and I want to see you do well. And I want to see you get back to where you should be, on the top. But you're doing it all wrong. So that was the first time I ever heard someone talk to me in a way that resonated internally. It's like your mother or your father saying, I love you, when you very rarely hear your parents say that to you. But it touches you in a different way. I thought, that's an emotion I've never felt before. Why do I feel like that? Why do I feel that he actually cares? And I've never had that before. So with that thought, I decided to listen. And he goes, you've been doing this all wrong, mate. That's what you mean, because you've caused this problem.
Had anyone told you that, like that, so bluntly before this time?
No.
Do you reckon if you hadn't gone away, done the NFL stuff, come back, if he was there for you pre that, do you think hearing that you would have accepted it as you have done, obviously, clearly,
If
the time?
we've spoken before about this, and I said to Seda, if you were the person I had called when that opportunity was offered to me,
Yeah.
he said he would have jumped on the plane and stopped me and took me home.
Yeah.
And I wish he was there.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be in a position now to talk to people who are going through the same crap.
Yeah, yeah.
There wouldn't be this story. There wouldn't. We wouldn't be having this conversation. You'll be looking for people to try and help. We wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be in this facility. I'll probably be doing something else. I'll probably be up in the clouds with all those other celebs living life. I wouldn't be here. So I always say that what I went through was necessary. But if he had came and rescued me, where would I be? What would I be doing? Would I always be curious about what if? Or would he have given me the support and the education to not go down the road that I chose to go down? So when I'm asked by my youngsters, the athletes that are part of my academy, how do I compete against someone that's going to cut corners? I said, they are always going to cut corners. Now, this is your destination. They're going to go direct. But you're going to take the long journey around because you're going to meet some amazing people. You're going to create opportunities. You're going to live life. You're going to win the highs and the lows. You're going to learn how to get yourself back when it all goes wrong. They won't do that. And they're going to forever be watching their back, whereas you won't have to. They're going to forever. Because one day, they will get caught. It's not if, it's when. And the embarrassment of that. Whereas you're not going to do that. And you're going to have that much more longevity. I've been doing this 30 years, despite the ups and downs. And you can have longevity in your career, which keeps you in the public eye for longer. You live life and you'll have an amazing experience. But you don't want to go life cutting corners and missing out on all those other things.
Yeah.
That to me is more exciting.
Okay. So let's go back to it then. So he's told you, Dwain, you fucked up. This is all your fault. This is your doing, no one else's.
And I couldn't even say, no, it's not. I just had to keep my mouth shut. And I said, and it's the first time I'd ever admitted it. I done this and I want to fix it. How do we fix it? And so this is what we're going to do. So first of all, we started with all the media. Whenever I was given an interview to do from the media, the first question was, is it unfair that you're not able to compete? And I would be like, yes, it is.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, next day, Dwain said it's unfair. And he said, this is why you're not competing. Shut up.
Yeah.
And read the question and we'll teach you how to get back. So when I learned to read the question, again, reading wasn't my forte, so I was just like, again, spitting venom at everything and not realizing the aftermath. So when he taught me, look at the question and read what they are wanting from you, you are going to deliver what you want to say in the right way. So once I learned to, Dwain, is it unfair that you're not able to compete? I just want to be an athlete and compete. That was it. And interviews would ask me that about 20, 30 times in one interview, and I'll stick to the same strap line. So as a result, my back page column went from a full praise spread to that. The heat diminished. So when we had emails or phone calls or opportunities to come back to compete, doors ajarred. I was able to give them a glimpse. This is what we're going to do to get you back. That door opened a little bit wider. Once you're on the track, this is how you're going to conduct yourself on the track. The door opened a bit wider. So there was a process. Once I got through that process, I was like, damn, why did I not listen to this before? But I had to go through enough disappointments to meet the right person. Sometimes I refer to an analogy where when I'm going through my hard times, I imagine I was falling. I would just have dreams about it. I would be falling. And sometimes, you know, when you're having a dream and just before you hit the ground, you wake up. I never woke up. I was just constantly falling. And it came to a point where I said to myself, I'm not going to stop falling unless I put my hand out and try and reach for something. Don't get me wrong, I'm falling through the cloud. There's nothing to hold on to. But once I realized I'm going to need help, hands started to appear. Now, every time those hands started to appear, I would grab onto them, but something wouldn't be the right hand to hold on to.
Yeah, just
I'll just let it go.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, nope, let it go, let it go until Cesar came along and I held onto his hand. And what he said, I thought, okay, I can hold on to this hand. And that was, I stopped falling. Then it took me a while to get my feet used to being back on the ground. So I was always falling and having an odd interview that wasn't right. And I was still unstable like a brand new antelope. You know,
Yeah,
they're shaky,
yeah.
but they want to nurse on the mum, but they can't, so they're constantly grabbing, and that's what was happening. And until I got used to dealing with the media, so I became more media savvy than track savvy.
Yeah.
So my performance dipped massively.
Yeah.
But where I was doing was becoming humble, becoming the epitome of a sports person and not just somebody that's just done wrong and blaming everyone else. I learned to conduct myself right in the media. I was better at home. I was better amongst people. I started to talk to children, started to talk at various universities and working environments on how I got from being someone who had nothing, had the world at my feet, crashed, fell down to the earth's core, got burnt, and then found my way back up again. And then that's how I had to rebuild myself. So when I go back to saying, I don't race to win, I'm race to challenge this. That is it. That's all we're doing. We just don't realize it yet. We all think we're going to win, but when we don't, we find a way to get ourselves back up again. And why do we do that? Because we challenge our mind to get over obstacles every single time they happen.
You're really passionate about that, which is, you know, beautiful to hear, to be fair, in terms of just it's you challenging you down that track. How has the transition been now then that vice isn't as, it's not as reflective, is reflective the right word, or just, you know, it's not as consistent anymore, you're not doing it competitively. Obviously you've chosen to, or we've gone down another route now where you're delivering, you know, your academy for the kids and stuff like that. Was that another like learning curve for you as well with regards to, right, I'm not, it's not aggression anymore in terms, because at the start line, or, you know, you're although not aggressive, it's aggression looking down there. You know what, you're here to do a job, you know, you're here to beat these people, you're here to challenge this. That's quite an aggressive and, you know, masculine kind of thing. To then bring it to where you are now, in terms of maybe taking that step back of not having to be that person that switched on, because as you said, it's exhausting. Have you been able to successfully achieve that vice though, or has what you're doing now successfully given you that output that track would, and looking down that?
It's twofold. So yes, the fire has somewhat exhausted, but my drive and my passion to still compete is still there. I just now choose to have fun with it, and I'm okay with losing races. Whereas before I was just like, I could never lose. Even though, again, what I was doing it for here, I still had that drive and like, I don't want to lose. I hated it. And I would react badly from it too. And I remember listening to an interview from Lewis Hamilton, and he said, I choose to have a short memory. When I lost the race, I cried, I got over it in a couple of hours and I moved on. I would log it, get over it, move on. Whereas my disappointments would last weeks, which interfered with how I interacted with people and how I then got on with my next session or interview, whatever case. So I just minimized how long I stayed in the grieving phase for. So whereas now I choose to enjoy it. I don't have to worry about contracts or agents or satisfying anybody. You know, I do it to show people that no matter how old you are or what disappointments you've had, you can still go out and do it. I do it because my kids choose to want to see somebody who, like, I didn't have a famous dad. My parents weren't famous, but my kids have somebody in the limelight. So I'm very conscious of how I project myself in the limelight. I have 100 kids at my academy who I have to be mindful of because I represent them as well as them representing me. I have a team of people who put extra time outside of their working hours to help me. So as well as I'm a reflection of them, they also a reflection of me. So I have to be mindful of their reputation because they're taking a chance on me. So if I'm not doing the right thing, it affects them. And if they don't like what I'm doing, they pull away. So I think long term now. Not all the time. I'm not always the best at it. I screw up, but I try to think ahead.
But it's nice to hear that, right? Because I guess when we said at the start of the interview, it's just that when I asked you, how did you feel being given this responsibility or being this person everyone needs to look to, and you having that role model thing? Obviously, there's no chance. But now actually hearing you discuss all of that and what you're doing now, it's welcomed with open arms now by the sounds of things.
But that had to come from me wanting that and realising what I've got around me. It's when we have it around me, we take it for granted. We think, oh, it's all right, they'll be there for me regardless. That's when mistakes happen. And if people aren't feeling appreciative of what you're doing, they'll bail out. And that's what used to happen. And I just thought, they're just being selfish. But naively, I just wasn't respecting them in their time. So I get a lot of satisfaction, which is weird, out of seeing other people do well, which is hard again to think, how am I feeling so good about this when I've been so hardwired to just deal with myself.
Do for you, yeah.
I've chosen to enjoy what I do because I do realise I can't do this forever. And that was a hard umbilical cord to cut.
Yeah.
It still isn't cut. I've still got it kind of holding on by
yeah,
threads.
yeah, I'm with you.
I can't switch off from it yet.
Yeah.
Because I believe once I switch off, I might be wrong. That's when you kind of got old. I don't want to age. This keeps me young, keeps me energetic, keeps me fit, keeps me healthy.
Yeah.
I've also have a responsibility that, and I strongly believe if you're coaching, you need to be able to demonstrate. Because not all individuals are learners from a reading perspective.
Yeah.
I'm a visual. I need to see it.
Yeah.
I can hear it, but it doesn't process that well. I can see it. I'm like, okay, I get it. And I also need to demonstrate it. So I try to tick all three boxes for all individuals. So I talk it, I show it, and I deliver it from a physical point of view as well. And if they don't get it, I bring it right back down to planet Earth again and walk them through it individually. Because some people youngsters are afraid to do things in front of people in case they're laughed at. So whenever that happens in the academy and other kids laugh at them, I cut that down straight away. Because it's not fair. So everyone has their own time and space and way of learning, and it shouldn't be rushed because they can't get it straight away.
Okay.
So for me, there's a lot of reward in the way I'm doing things now, which is, I can only speak on behalf of myself, but men, we take a long time to grow up. We do. We mature late in life.
100%.
We do.
I'm still a 6-year-old.
Mate.
Mentally, still a 6-year-old.
I'm Benjamin Button, boy. If you ever see me off camera, I'm just an absolute idiot. But that keeps me energetic.
Yeah.
My wife just says I'm stupid, but
Yeah.
I like it. That's me.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to be. I don't know how a 44-year-old is supposed to be, but I'm not what is prescribed in the book to be. I just don't do it. I laugh, I joke. Life is very short. So I try to do the best I can with it and be confident in myself and give people other confidence too.
Okay, no, brilliant. 2010 and 2011, let's bring them together because I know we've not got too much time. I guess that's where everything everything just started to come back quite rapidly. Is that a fair point to make now that you've got this support that you received at the end of 2019? You're seeing the light at the end of or a light somewhere at the end of this really dark tunnel that you're in.
Oh, there was no light.
No, none at all?
No.
Not even at that point?
Specsavers couldn't help me. A torch did not work.
No.
The light was on, but I still couldn't see.
Okay.
There was no light.
So for I guess for yourself and reflecting back 2010 and 2011, because I didn't want to go into too much research and then give you a kind of line. How were those 2 years then? So as I say, we've got 2009 in the bag. The British vest is on your back again, and then 2010, 2011.
So again, I think when did I have my second child? Sky was 2005. So me and my wife were on our way up to having our second child. So we had 2 boys at the time.
Okay.
So I think why things worked well 2011, 2012. I had other external distractions.
Okay.
I wasn't too honed in on what I wanted. So with the too honed in on one thing, you don't allow it time to grow. If you put a seed in the plant pot and you're looking at it every day, you're just like, why is it not growing?
Yeah.
But if you put it in there, water it when it's supposed to be watered, put it in front of the sun and you leave it, it's going to grow at its own rate. But because I was just penetrating it, just looking at it, I was like, I sod this. But because I had the external distractions and my wife and I were building our relationship and was working on that, every time I went back to that plant pot, I saw something happening.
Different, yeah.
That seed coming through the soil was equivalent to more opportunities coming, more races happening, me building a relationship with other teammates now, building a better relationship with my manager, Cesar Raga at the time, building bridges. So my journey was a little bit more smooth. It wasn't so wide and curvy and up and down. It was just going like this now. And that was just purely because the decision I made, I didn't disrupt its progress. I didn't know how long it was going to take. I said, I want to get back. And in the interim, it was just like this, wavy, because I was just on it and just distracted. But once I had this distraction, I didn't have to worry about it no more. I just had my kids who weren't managed and trying to earn a bit of money on the side by just coaching, and I'll train. And then all the support that was being cultivated from Cesaraga was being done behind the scenes. So my image in the media was settled. My demeanor was settled. How I was delivering things was settled. My relationship at home was settled. So things were idling nicely. Whereas before that I was flatlining and I was all over the place. I was erratic at best.
Yeah.
So there was no chance for my plant to grow. It was just disruptive. But the moment things settled, and every time I come back, I'm like, check in the plant or check into the equivalent of, says, how are things going? Just keep training. Just keep training. So by that, I just allowed what I really wanted to happen. With about constantly micromanaging and checking it, opening the doors. Is it all right? Is it all right? So once that settled down, and I was reassured that I had somebody, now I had a team around me, which I didn't have before. I had my wife and my kids. I had a good representative next to me. I had my small circle of friends that would always just be there, which you need.
Always, 100.
And I didn't feel like I was alone. So I didn't feel like I was fighting this battle by myself.
Was that, with those two, 2010, 2011, was that the first time you felt that not feeling alone anymore? Really?
Yeah. And because I opened myself up to just thinking, okay, we've got to do this together.
Yeah.
And I felt supported. So members of the public would say, look, I've seen what you've gone through. You're an idiot. You've done wrong. But I like what you're doing. You're making your way back. So I couldn't see what other people saw of me, which was also hard.
And that's why I asked that question, because for me as a fan watching you and, you know, what's going on, it looks like to me, like, there wasn't anything necessarily I felt like it was put out there in the media, by the media. It was just like, Dwain's back now. And again, going through, so like 08, British Champs gold, 09, silver, 2010 gold, 2011 gold. For these are for the British Champs. It's like, I'm seeing that as he's on job now. He's kind of back, even from 2008. But obviously, you still feeling that loneliness and that void until 2011.
So on the track when I'm doing that, that's me at my element.
Yeah,
and then it's still Jesus.
Yeah.
I run for 10 seconds. Obviously, there's training in between it, but there's still beside that 10 seconds, there's freaking 23 hours and 59 minutes,
50 minutes. Yeah, of the rest of the day.
Of the day.
Yeah.
And what do I do within that day? And before I was just like, what the hell am I doing? But responsibilities and nurturing my kids, it helped fill that.
Yeah.
And then I started to feel a little bit more involved, and my wife is on me. Like, I wouldn't ever talk. I never used to talk.
Yeah.
Like, I'm all right. Yeah. She would thick me till I had to talk.
Yeah.
And then that allowed me to open up. Now, I could talk for days.
Yeah.
I talk more than her. She talks to stones.
So you just be quiet now. Yeah, so we're around.
She talks to stones. So now I see value in talking.
Yeah.
Because anything you've got in here, you've got to get off your chest. I urge men, freaking talk.
Yeah. No,
and don't hold that in, because it causes problems. And for me, I would talk sweet nothings in all these females' ears just to get what I wanted. But deep down, I was just saying that because I couldn't talk openly.
Yeah. Okay.
And we all do it.
We've got half an hour left, so can we do one thing just to finish off? I want to move on to 2012, but for that, I want to do something a little different. So if I could just ask you to throw them on for me, please, if that's all right. And I've also got a pair of headphones that I'm going to put on. And I want to play you something, but while I play it, would you mind closing your eyes for it?
Close my eyes.
It's 10 seconds long. It's 10 seconds long. Is that right?
Close my eyes now?
Not yet. Let me get my phone out, and then I'll tell you when. But I just want to, I guess I want to capture this moment, because it's something that I've wanted to ask you about, but I didn't know how the right way to do it. So I've got this clip just to do that. Yeah. And now let me just find the point that we need. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
The 100-meter final. Chambers gets a good start. Jamili's right alongside him. As Chambers is starting to pull away, Jamili can't go with him. Dwain Chambers is there. Simeon Williamson's finishing quickly. It's going to be tight on the line. It's Simeon who's up there. It's Chambers. Experienced times of a youth.
Is that moment? What is that? Is that? Yeah, you can take them off now. Yeah, if you want to. Is that redemption? Is that? I mean, the release afterwards. That was, I would describe that as cathartic. That was just that seemed to have everything just come out. But is redemption the right word? Is it retribution? What is it? Or is it all of those combined? What?
I don't know the word in the dictionary to describe that. That was a build-up from childhood to that moment. Freedom. All the hard work from everybody else that gone into helping me get there. Obviously, the way I react was just how I react.
Oh, I mean, Crown.
That is
Yeah, the
me.
way you was, I
Yeah,
was like,
that's
no,
me.
he deserves that. I was
is
like, you know,
That
yeah, go
wasn't
on.
anything like anybody else. That's just
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
That's how I'm just different when it comes to
Yeah.
expressing yourself with a win.
Yeah,
that's how
yeah,
I
yeah.
express it.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'll always do that.
I think we've all been there as any athlete, you know, whether it's at, you know,
Yeah.
international level for yourself or whether your club, national, county, when it's the certain race, it's almost if that day stars aligned for me.
Yeah.
Like before you even the gun went off, I was like, Dwayne's winning it, and everyone was like, you're mad. I was like, no, I'm telling you,
You know what?
he is gonna win this.
You know what? Obviously, that was the year when I became eligible to come back into
Yeah.
the sport. Well, I was already in the sport, but eligible to compete at the Olympics.
Yeah.
Now, one thing being eligible to compete,
Yeah.
I still had to qualify.
Yeah,
So, although I'd reached this pinnacle, and I thought, yes, I've made it, there was a path, and I still had more of a mountain to climb. So I became eligible, and I had to qualify, and I still had to perform at the games. So if I hadn't gone through all the madness I'd gone through as a child, being told no, I would have got there thinking, yeah, I've made it. But yeah, I would have got to this edge and realised there's more to this mountain I had to climb. I would have stopped. Because I had the resilience in me to carry on. I got to that Olympic trials and I wasn't running the best. I was told I was eligible. It took me, I swear to God, it took me about 2.5 months to emotionally recover. I swear to God, I was training up until that moment. My manager said, Dwain, you can run. My soul left me.
I bet.
It's like my soul needed to go off and rest. Because it's just been on edge, hard. It's just been revving for freaking years.
Yeah.
From when I got banned in 0203, that's 10 years. To 2012, that's 10 years of just staying redlining, running blind, not knowing. So when he said I was eligible, my freaking soul just left. And I was just a corpse. I was just, when I tell you, for about 2 months, I just could not train. I'll get up, go to track, and I just had to sit down. I couldn't do nothing. And every day I'll try. I was like, fuck, I can't do nothing. And then as I got closer and closer to the Olympics, I was like, the trial, I was like, I got to compete, and I ain't done no block sessions. I ain't done no speed. I haven't done anything. But there's nothing I could do. And then lo and behold, all this time, there was a new kid on the block, Adam Gamili.
Yeah, Adam, yeah.
So I could see him, I was like, yeah, it's going to be a wrap for me. It's going to be a wrap for me. How am I going to beat this kid? I was no longer the talk of the town. It was this new kid on the block, and rightly so, because he was dominating sport at the time.
Yeah.
Brilliant athlete.
I'm sure he'd only been, I think it was 18 months with it, because he'd come from football academy.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was, like, yeah.
Him and his coach,
Different
Mark
gravy.
Luck at the time,
Yeah.
just done a brilliant job with him.
Yeah.
And I still respect the kid up to this day. Because if it wasn't for him, he drew the best out of me at that time. So I remember seeing him, got to the championship, the trials. We both negotiated our way through the rounds. And I was just running awful, man. What you may have seen was good and building tension. He was growing and I was just declining. I was like, in my mind, every race, I was like, I can't beat this kid. He's running 10 hours and I'm running 10 5s. So I ain't going to beat this kid. Then I remember we got into the call room. And because of the intense call room episodes I've had with the Linford Christies, with them intimidating the hell out of me, I walked into that call room and I was like, how the hell am I going to beat this kid? And I remember pacing up and down, doing what the Ben Johnsons, the Maurice Greens did to me, the Linford Christies looking at me and staring the hell out of me and making me put my head down. I walked back and forth and I looked at Adam. Adam put his head down and said, you sucker, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. I had to find something.
Yeah.
we spoke about this. Me and Adam were calling.
Yeah, no, I bet. Yeah, of
I
course.
had to. And the moment he put his eyes down, I said, I got you. And I
you,
just sucked his soul. I was like,
Yeah.
and I absorbed it
Yeah.
in me. And I thought, that boost of energy you've just given me, it's a wrap for you.
Yeah.
So that gave me the confidence. So I knew, and one thing I do, when they call out the athletes to the starters, they call you in sometimes in lane order. And I have a habit of whenever they call me first, I'm deliberate and disobedient. I'll always go to the back. So again, another mind game, screwing up with their heads. So I went to the back. So automatically they're thinking, why is Dwain doing this? So again, I can feel their like worry. It's an aura. I can see it oozing out of them. They're like, why are they worrying? I'm just like, I've got you.
Yeah.
I just needed something to focus on that I knew I could control and commit to it 100%. At the moment, I had nothing to commit to before Adam put his eyes down. I had nothing. But the fact that I saw him put his eyes down told me he's scared of me. And this is not a malicious act. This is just a competitive environment.
Yeah.
This wasn't deliberate. I didn't put my hand on him. I didn't hurt. There's none of that.
But I think anyone, I mean, we're at Lee Valley today. During indoor meets, if you're up there, until you can feel the testosterone when you come from down there and you get in the cool room. I know you're fine down here. Up there is a war zone. It's an absolute war zone.
So I remember getting on the line, set my blocks up, and another trick I do, I watch how quickly they move off the block. I watch their steps. I listen to the reaction. I listen to their feet. So I'm like, okay, I can hear how quickly that cling off the block versus how his foot gets down. I'm like, I'm going to beat that. That's my own internal challenge. If you've ever watched The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, he would make up problems deliberately to fire himself up. So that's what I had to do. I had to create a problem to give me a reason to be peed off. And that peed off attitude puts that chip on my shoulder, which then turns me to Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
So I have to, if there's no problem, I have to create one. What made me even though I was good, what made me super good, there was a problem that I'd created. So that's what kept my fire going. When I became eligible, there was no more fire. So how do I create that fire again in a good way?
It's weird, isn't it, actually, that you say it, because I would have thought getting that news, that's then Dwain going Super Saiyan 2, 3, 4. We're back.
Nah, bro.
But it did the exact.
The opposite.
Even though that was the one thing you'd obviously been working towards to get to, you got it, and it was deadline.
It's like when you've worked hard for your degree or your driving's license, you're getting like, but when you come in, you're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
Quadruple that.
Yeah.
Knowing that I had to hold that for 10 years.
Yeah.
So when I got on that line, I could hear everything. I could hear everyone's block starts. So I honed into it, and I thought, they're not moving quick enough. They're not moving faster than me.
Yeah.
So when it was time to go, stripped off my tracksuit, I was ready.
Yeah.
I was ready. And I was right next to me. He was on my
I think he was on your left. Yeah, he was on your left. Yeah.
Perfect for me, because I like heat on both sides.
Yeah.
But for some reason, when they're on my left, that's where I draw more energy from.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why. So I remember him being on my left, and at the start I said, on your marks, set. And I just told myself, when that gun cracks, the moment he pulls that trigger, I'm gone.
You'll hear it. Yeah.
It's almost as though I was zoned out completely, and I could hear him pull. So as soon as you heard the B of the bang, the first B part, not even the second B part, I was gone.
Yeah.
And I just went into another gear.
Yeah. When I don't. Do you remember much of the race at all?
It's a blur. I have to watch it.
Okay.
I don't remember anything of the race. I don't remember. The reason I know I reacted because I see it, but I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
I just went into another zone.
Yeah.
Again, that may be a little different because I went there to win. That was a different challenge for me then. I actually went there to win, because if I didn't, I wasn't going anywhere. I went there to win. But I didn't know I was going to win until I'd seen Adam put his eyes down. When I knew that, I thought, now I've got you, because no one else I didn't care about.
Yeah.
For all I knew, it was a gamble, because Adam could have completely faltered, and Simeon or James Desalo or MLF could have stepped up.
Yeah.
I put all my eggs into one basket that I was racing Adam. It was a gamble, because normally I'd stay with myself. But I chose to gamble all my cards on him.
Yeah.
It was a gamble, because, like I said, I could have full started.
Yeah.
I could have done anything wrong, but my race was with him. Not the establishment, not 2012 or the other athletes that respectfully were granted, worthy of being there.
Yeah, 100%.
It was me and him.
Yeah.
But he didn't realise that.
Yeah.
So when that gun went, I went into super pursuit mode.
Yeah.
And I was not losing. I knew they weren't physically, mentally stronger than me.
Yeah.
Although I was fragile, I knew they weren't tough up here. Because as far as I'm concerned, you haven't gone through what I've gone through. Self-inflicted or not.
Yeah.
You lot are young, you ain't even gone through nothing.
Yeah.
So when it comes to heat like this, I've been through worse.
Yeah.
I've been banned.
Was there a sense of ownership on that championships that it was yours prior to that cool room moment with Adam and things like that? Were you on the day? It was no one else's. They were all there just to be spectators, whether they were in the stands or they were on the line with you. Today's mine. But obviously, having had that news and you recovered from that massive slump, I
still didn't know. It wasn't assured.
Yeah.
Like I said, going to the champs, that whole period of time leading up to it, Adam was dominating. And I hadn't got even remotely close. I didn't even have the qualifying time. There was no reassurance. I didn't know. The only reason I knew is once he put his eyes down on me. And I pretty much sucked everything out of him. That's what gave me the little edge on him.
Yeah.
Because he was the only person I had to worry about. I knew if I beat him, I was going. But there was all these other elements that could have just got in the way.
Yeah.
Anything could have happened. So I just thought, that gun goes, you step out ahead of Adam and you do not freaking stop. Don't stop.
Yeah.
Do not stop.
Yeah.
So I challenged myself, you do not stop. And you can see as Adam was coming, I just held on.
Yeah.
And I was running off of this pure adrenaline.
Yeah.
I hadn't really trained. I hadn't done anything in preparation to that, besides try and keep this sucker clear.
Yeah.
The amount of media stuff that was floating. There was a fear of getting here and not qualifying. So that crept in.
Yeah.
And I thought, if you stay in here, I'm going to be in trouble. So again, I just had to let it be a passing thought. Again, the team around me was there, but ultimately they couldn't help me no more. This was me.
Yeah.
Obviously, went and made the team.
Yeah.
I then had another challenge, whereas everyone else was rejoicing, like, yeah, it's Olympic Games.
Yeah.
My drive was different because I still had to go there and perform.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was going to ask you, was when you got there, obviously our home games as well, was that just a holiday then or absolutely not?
Bruv.
No.
Everything was riding on it because I'd been working towards it.
Yeah.
I'd begun to get support. I'd been reinstated.
Yeah.
I couldn't then go there and then flop.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I've always wanted to get an Olympic gold, but really and truly, my Olympic medal was achieved by getting there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have it in its entirety, physically,
yeah.
but I have it in terms of what I was able to achieve.
Yeah.
So that was my gold medal. So by getting to the Olympics, making the team, being announced, dealing with all of that. So at no point had this journey been smooth sailing. It ain't been fun.
Yeah.
It's been a challenge. But it shows how capable human beings are of overcoming adversity. And there are people out there who had to deal with far worse than me. So I'm insignificant in comparison to what some people have to deal with. I just made a decision that cost me my career and brought the sport into disrepute, but some people had to deal with issues that have lost limbs, family members, businesses. Mine's insignificant. And when it came to reality that it was that, I said, look, I'm a fish in the, a small fish in the sea in comparison to what other people have to deal with. Hard at the time.
Yeah.
But insignificant in comparison. So when I hear other people's stories, we have athletes that have had to go to Afghanistan and lose limbs
yeah.
and see stuff. I ain't cut out for that.
So let's talk now then. Who is Dwain now? Because again, going back to you, athlete, and seeing you over the years, and more so kind of over the 2009 to 12 period when Steve Cram was obviously doing a lot of announcement, and there was, when he used to say your name or Dwain Chambers, there was authority in your name. Do you know what I mean? Is that but I see that authority as that aggressive, physical athlete who wants to win. Who is Dwain now?
Dwain is still that competitive. I want to say aggressive now.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I'm aggressive in my ability to run. That's just me.
Yeah.
I'm an old school BMW,
Yeah.
325i.
Yeah.
I'm raw.
Yeah.
But I've learned to refine myself
Yeah.
to adapt to modern times.
Yeah.
I feel this world is moving at a very, very fast pace. Children have access to the world at the touch of a button. And I feel that in order to keep up with current times, I need to move at that pace too. So I've kept my instincts, competitive instincts that would never leave me. You want to come and race me now, I'll still put on my spikes and go and run. So that's in me.
Yeah.
And that works well for me, both at home, in business. I carry that competitiveness into everything I do. But it doesn't necessarily involve me getting on the track and do it now. So I've taken up an ambition to get into motivational speaking. I feel what happened to me was once I was embarrassed about it. Now I see value in it. I'm not the only one that's made mistakes. I just choose to be open about them. And with that, I enjoy my time with my family. Over the past few years, we've lost a lot of key figures in sport. Lloyd Cowan, Ayo Falola, many icons in sport, just to name a few. And I realise if I don't do what I'm put on this earth to do, this story will be lost. So I choose to talk about it so people can relate in any way, shape or form and use it as a reference that decisions will always be made by people, some right, some wrong. If you do make a bad decision, own up to it because you are tough enough to handle it. If you do wrong, confess and be open with the people that you've affected. If you don't make mistakes in life,
You've not done it, have you, really? You've not lived.
and if you do make mistakes that are only exposed on a small level, you've still made mistakes. Just that in the eyes of sports people and people in the political world as well, your mistakes are exposed on a global stage. So the exposure to that and the reaction to that is far greater. But deep down, you are still a human being and you need to own up to it. Weather the storm, learn from it. If you don't learn from it, then you're an idiot. You're an idiot. Plain and simple. Now, if I was to go and choose to take performance enhancers again and again and again, then I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Then you deserve to be thrown out. However, I made that mistake, that decision, thought, I ain't doing that again. That was costly. And any athlete that chooses to make that decision, you freaking come and find me.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you plain exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And if you choose to then go ahead and do that, then on you.
Yeah.
However, there is more to life after sport. I thought sport was the be-all and an end-all. I now see value in what sport does. Sport just takes you from point A to point B. And within that time, you meet great people, you learn things, you get new skills, you travel, you get a passport, you can do great things. You then use that to then elevate you up a ladder. And every time you reach the pinnacle of that journey, you upscale again. You upscale all the time. But you don't do it in a way that cuts corners and steps on people's toes, which I chose to do at the time. So I choose to channel and handle life differently and learn from my experiences.
Okay, amazing. I didn't really want to script a way of kind of closing out today because, as I say, my aim today was just to give you, well, I wanted to know because I'm a bit selfish like that, but just to talk to you about, you know, post-suspension and that amazing weekend on July 3rd, 10 years ago. Is there anything that you want to close out on or that you would like to, or any final pieces that you'd like to kind of summarise this today?
I want to close with I'm grateful for the life I have. It could have gone so many other directions. I don't regret what I did because it was necessary. I could have handled things a lot better. I don't regret being honest about it. You know, I'm sorry for all the disappointment, and I've said this dozens of times, but what's happened. It was a decision that was made for a reason, and I honestly now believe that. because now put me in a unique position to help others who are going through hardships. Because not everyone is open and honest. I was one, if only, the only one that was open about it. It has now put me in a unique position where parents bring their children to my academy, the Dwain Chambers Performance Academy.
Yeah.
So what I've gone through is the epitome of my why. I do this because I want children to feel confident in their decisions. I want adults to feel confident in their decision. I want people to know and feel strong in themselves. So if someone says, Jordan, you're an idiot, you can look at it and say, no, I'm not an idiot. I know exactly what I'm doing and why. People tend to knock you down because they don't have the ability and confidence to do it themselves. So once a person is strong in themselves and knows themselves and know why they're doing it, then nothing can faze them. I didn't have a why. I now have a why. And people's parents see value in that. So understand your why, know your how, and do your what. And I probably said that in a weird order, but identify your why first. And that'll give you a valid reason to be doing what you're doing.
Beautiful. Dwain, cheers. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All good.
Boom.